A very good afternoon to everyone. So let's start with today's session, that is on the startup business incubation, incubator and acceleration. So let's start with the topic that what is startup? A startup is a venture that is initiated actually by its founders around an area or a problem with a potential or significant business opportunities and impact. And other actual developments actually starts even before that in search of any idea, meaningful information, worth solving or building a committed founding team aligned with vision and reality. Actually, the initial founder was actually to develop a core team with necessary skills and abilities to able to validate the initial problems and finding it fit with the appropriate market before scaling to the significant companies. If anyone want to start for even a very single idea to value generating for the product or business model, so startup also needs have to a strong and committed founding team and develop both of these together into a real growing business and organization that captures the value being a created and great company. So basically, there's a very large number of advantages for the startup, that more responsibility and opportunity to learn are two. These are the basically the two advantages for developing a startup. And fewer employees than large established companies. Employee tend to wear many hats, working with a variety of roles, which leads to more responsibility and opportunities to learn behind it. Startups tends to be more relaxed in nature in the marketplace, more to the communal experience with flexible hours, increased employee interaction and flexibility. So it is actually a better workplace, benefits such as nurseries for the children, free food and shorter sport work fields also. The work that for the startups can also be more rewarding and innovation. So, and as we further proceed, the primary, what is the disadvantage for the startups is basically regarding the increased risk. The primary applies for the success and longevity of the startup. New business actually need to prove themselves and raise capital before when they start turning a profit. So it is not always for the part that we will always have a safe side for creating something. So is the back factor of a increase risk factor also involved for creating a startups also. Keeping investors happy, the persons who are investing in your companies or a small startup, they also should be happy with the startup process. That is very crucial regarding it. The risk factor of shutting down or not having the capital to continue operations before turning a profit is ever present, because when we are creating any startup, so there is a major factor for the creating the profit, and should we have enough capital means the money, so it should be properly satisfied by the both of the factors, though, so they can be easily put there. This can lead to a high stress moments also sometimes actually. Competition is also very high during the startups with the idea. So basically, what the factor? What is the main factor that we are the positivity with that the more opportunities first for the startups, that we have the more opportunities to learn, increase responsibility. If a single person is playing the role for creating a startup, so there's a major factor of the responsibility over there. Also flexibility, workplace benefits are also there. Innovation is encouraged because when you're creating a startup or developing something, so you want to have a different kind of ideas for the marketplace, so innovation is also encouraged during this. And flexibles are when you are creating your own something, so you are not supervision of something particularly an hour for that. So these are the major things. So basically, I will give you the examples of the startups at .coms. These were common startup in 1990s. Easy to obtain during the time, easy to frenzy among investors to speculate on the emergence of new businesses. Unfortunately, most of these actually internet startups eventually went bust due to the major flaws in the business part. Some lacking path were also there. So, and then a handful companies survived when the .com obviously dissolved. That Amazon, eBay are also the two good examples for it. So now the factors come. How do you start a startup company? How can we go through it? So the first step for starting having is a great idea. So for creating or developing a startup, or you want to have a startups, you should have a good idea for it. From there, market research is the next step. Next, we go to the market step to determine how feasible the idea is and what the current marketplace look like. A few idea. So these are the basically factors. You should have a good idea. Then you go through the next step for the market. So you should have the clean idea over the market, that how your idea is going to implement, what are the things needed in the market or not. After the market square, creating a business plan, how you are going to plan your business with outlines of the company, your structure, company structure, your company mission, goal, objectives, and the values. What are the creating? These are the next steps. The most important steps in the last is the funding. This is the most important for the startups. This can come from your savings, your friends, your investors, loan, family, etc. Anyone can go with it. After raising funding, make sure that you have done all correct legal and paperwork authorized for your startup companies. This means actually the registering of a business and opting actually required license, and that permits said so that you can start up your business. After this, establish a business location. You have to create a business location from you where you have to start. From there, creating an advertising plan to attract customers, establish a customer base, and adapt your business growth. So this is a small overview that how can a company, or you can you can go for a startup company. There are variable types of startup. I can mention you through that. Sometimes we have a scalable task startups. That company is tech belong to a official group. Many company have great potential. They can easily access the global market, obviously. So tech business can receive a financial support from the investors or go into the international companies. That the examples of these scalable startups means like Google, Uber, Facebook, and Twitter. So these are the examples of the scalable startups. Though that can go move toward the international market also. Then we have a small business startups. These business are actually small means that regular people are self-funded. These are actually for the small business where they grow at their own place, good site. Like example, we can have our grocery stores, hairdressers, travel agents are the perfect examples for the small startups. Then we again have a lifestyle startups also. That lifestyle means that people who have hobbies and eager to work for their passion type of thing, they can go what the love doing the things what they love actually. There are a lot of examples that dancers, for example, dancing schools uh, learn uh, learn and earn their money on that. That is a lifestyle startup. Then the Bible startups are there also there. This is the technology and software industry. Some people design a startup from bigger company, giants like Amazon, Uber, this type of. And next we have this business startups. That is for basically the larger company at a finite lifespans and customer preferences, technology, and that competition. That the things are changing time or time actually. That are business startups. And the last and the least is the social startups. Social startups, they're the main aim actually to all startups is to earn money. These are still companies designed to go good for the people. So these are the social startups examples. We can include that charities, non-profit organizations, that is type of social startup. So this is the basically short overview for the startups. What is the startups? How can we can plan through it? Now we can move to the next topic, that is business incubation. So what is the business incubation? Is the name given to the process where is an individual or organization supports the establishment and growth of a startup. that a particular organization that is established for the helpful of the startup. So those supporting the startup or new companies, those supporting the person, people are those supporting the startup or new companies are the business incubators. These business incubators see what they see, that the growth potential and weigh the opportunity before supporting the fund into the. They just actually go through the what the person or the people are taking for the startup. They get the potential, what is the weightage of it, and they help it out. The selection of the startup involves a high level of research before actually taking any decision in taking to support or fund out. Actually, we are funding anything in the market, so it should be the foresee and it should be properly researched that what thing we are investing. The number of incubators have grown considerably in recent years. The rise is due to several factors. There are a number of that increase entrepreneurship, new technologies are there in the market, economic globalization, and the transfer of technology. These are the basically the thing about it. So what is the basically the importance of these business incubation, that the work on a brilliant idea with a huge scope of scaling. These companies have actually little knowledge about the management and therefore burn cash up. These actually help startups manage finances, ensure proper utilization of the money. These business incubators. Managing a business locally plans actually a significant role in the marketing the foundation strong and scale it. They perform the same function. These incubators actually perform the same function for it. They actually just target the business. They want to establish themselves finally formally in the market with great growth potential, various type of support such as planning, training, development, research, and extra. So there are the many stages of these business incubation. So basically they are actually divided into three categories. The firstly is the business facility support, though they basically refers to the services provided with the business level, physical level actually, physical facility support, and the networking facility. These are held with the networking facility as so as to grow the business, and last is the support services. So support is basically the running operators with the support business to run it so smoothly. So these are the business incubators. Then we move to another topic, that is incubators. So what are those incubators? Incubators are actually a partnership or collaboration between one or more pro-business organization. These actually organization can be economic development organization, government entities, local colleges, universities, profit actually trade association, anything. These are the incubators. Services, what the actually incubators are doing, that actually the startup usually have a rich idea and lack of resources to execute it. We have a very good idea, but the resources are very limited to execute for it. So they require a business incubator support for these roles or fill these gap between it. So there are many services offered by these incubators that help to start the basic operation and financial management. They offer marketing and PR assistance for the new companies. They build a strong network for influential people. They connect the business with the same to grow. And incubators provide assistance and resource for conducting market research also. They also help the startups in storing or sorting their accounting books, bring credibility to the company. They can also help the company to get loans, credit facilities from financial institutions. So these incubators also act as a mentors, advisors, and assist startup in all sorts of business related issues. So actually the incubators help them in very precious way for these startups. So there are many examples for the incubators also. I mentioned in the slide that academic institution, non-profit development corporations, and non-profit venture capital firms that are. So next, go to the slide that how actually the business incubators help startups. So we can find the number of ideas I mentioned that first of all, that is the validation of the idea, that for a founder for a founder, his idea is always the best. Whatever we found, we appreciate it. Often considered the revolutionary and above approach. In cases that it actually we hold it that it is true or not, every idea needs to be first validated or whether it can work or not. So there are times when an idea is good or maybe innovative but may not be commercial potential and does not address a compelling problem. So that is the how they help that way to validate the idea, what the idea is, to validate it. Then we can have the mentoring support, as I previously told that they support, incubator support as a mentor also. So about the starting up the entrepreneurship for the first time entrepreneur, multiple aspects of business such as marketing skills, business development, operation, finance needs to go well understood, plan, and many types of technology solution for that problem. So they support for the mentoring support also. Co-working space they also provide. That entrepreneur is always cash starved. Cash starved means we know that entrepreneur should have the proper capital to invest in all its startups. And Lily, would you come from the flesh with her? So at that stage, investing and getting a proper office is costly proposition. And hence, that time incubators with their co-working spaces become a very hot favorite for it. They create a space, co-working space with a number of the other startups and entrepreneurs also become a vibrant and melting pot of ideas. So they play a very important role as a co-working space. And supporting in fundraising, incubators are often well entrenched in ecosystems and well researched. How good ideas also validated. So they show a very strong potential, can often to as an investor for it. Most incubators run demo days where the entrepreneur has a chance to present his idea before an investor to secure funding. Actually, the investors also like startups for incubators as there was certain amount of faith actually on well incubators and expect that ideas. Okay, so these types we can help with the incubators help the startups and not let the least they share a resource pool also. So incubators offer provides a shared resource for of rockstar experts to the all specific areas technology with help actually startups in faster realization of their idea. Okay, we what we plan and what we have the idea that is different that I previously told, but how the idea works and how it can be approached that should be verified. So these incubators help with it. Okay, so this is the how that business incubator helps startups. Next we move goes that is business incubation program. So what is actually basically business incubation program? These actually help the young startups to innovate and grow. They usually provide workspaces, mentorship, education, and access to investors for startups and sole entrepreneurs. So these are the basically factors for it. These resource allows companies and ideas to take shape while operating at a lower cost during the early stage of business incubation. So incubators actually require an application process to join usually require a commitment for a specific amount of time. So what actually the examples of business incubators is that if we go through other since around in 1950s, they involve into many forms. While there are several types of incubators, they also share the common goal and promoting the growth for it. Programs there were like, I think that academic institutions, that many business incubators are run by universities or having academic affiliations. Some programs work with university students also, and other programs like non-profit development corporations, that both non-profit and government agencies use incubators to simulate economic development. These programs are specifically accept companies geared toward public value. And for the profit poverty development ventures, that large corporations develop many incubators for various purposes. These programs actually help investment opportunity a way to develop subsidiaries and venture capital funds. So these are the basically the incubation programs. So now we move towards the characteristics of a business incubators. So what are the characteristics of a business incubators? In that we previously told that in small business development, the incubator model deserves special attention actually. Is it seems to a practical approach in the countries for traditional support for the development of business seems, and it seems preservative also exists in transition countries also. So it actually plays a contemporary tool for entrepreneurship development there, and they appear to the response and the recession area. So most business incubators use the existing infrastructure and brownfield investment for their development. Actually, their surpluses in capacity occur due to the privatization or other reasons. This is possible to develop them to develop imputer types of small business. This is basically actually a flexible method for a new business and development to support economic development. So incubators enable many small enterprises to start their work under small roof with a favorable lease of functionally prepared space. So joined for the of the stocks infrastructure, their services and specialized during of equipment. So these actually offer equal opportunities to the certain financial, technical, marketing programs also. So incubators located under one roof enable multiple combinations of business cooperation among the owners of small enterprises, and the basis of that and efficient use of the available resource in a narrow space. So these are the basically the characteristics of the business incubator. So these incubator is a form of actually an entrepreneurial infrastructure whose basic activity is to offer services by putting at the disposal, with or without charge, a business precise, administrative, technical, or other services. Any. Right? Among the participants in the creation of business may be social, associates, donors, firms, a service organization to perform common tasks, and multiple participants. We can go through it. Okay. So they also create actually a order opportunity for giving the private capital of the association for it. So these are the basically characteristics of a business incubators. Let's move to the next slide, that is accelerators. So the name suggests what the accelerators, business accelerator, what is that? It is actually the program that gives developing companies access to the mentorship, investors, and other support them to stable, self-sufficient business. That's it. Companies that use business accelerators are typically startups that have moved beyond the earliest stage of getting established. So they are not they have basically entered their adolescence, meaning they can stand on their own, they can own feet, but need guidance and peer support to gain strength. Actually, the less developed companies not ready for an accelerator would instead use a business incubator for support. In addition to mentorship or investment opportunities, business accelerator gives growing companies access to logistical, technical resources as well as shared office space. So what are these accelerators will help to connect companies to the network, experience they learn from the new. They last anywhere from 2 to 6 months. The goal is for companies to emerge ready to run on their own with strong positioning to claim a share of their target markets. There are basically two types of business accelerators. The first is seed programs, last for 2 to 4 months and focus actually on the mature startups, building up their business fundamentals, giving them the opportunity to pitch their ideas to investors. So these are the seed programs for the 2 to 4 months. And the second stage program, these are the second type of that last from 6 months and focus on more startups, more mature startups. connecting them to the full range of support and opportunities. So seed programs basically for the 2 to 4 months for the less mature startups, and the second stage programs are for the 6 months. That is focused basically for the mature startups. So these we come below that what are the accelerators. Then we come that is an accelerator program right for your startup. So what you seen that it is right or wrong. So at we have seen that accelerators, they cut a equity in exchange for the program placement. Solo founders with unvalidated ideas are better bid for incubators than accelerators. Okay. So accelerators are right up for the startups that are ready to scale actually. Not startups engage in customer development and try to find product fit market. So some business prefer grow slowly and don't need venture capital to there. So accelerators could be right for your company or startup. Say there are many factors that can work on like grow quickly. An accelerator program encourages a company to scale up very few weeks. In a very few weeks, you can scale it down. Okay. Concede same control. Mentors can often have significant control over the business. Impress investors. This is also the one clause. Most investors want to see your business plan, track record, so they commit to your enterprise for that. Relocate. Accelerators ask for the month to undivided attention at their campus. Your team should be ready to pack their bags for that. And last is that the focus program of a lot of mentor meetings, seminars, workshop time, individual work time. So expect a packed schedule every day for it. Okay. So this is how that the accelerator program worked actually for the right startup. So the next is the application process of accelerator. What is the application process goes to the? So as we know that it basically a cylindrical in cohorts. It means that between 45 and 90 slot every year. So there are many number of stages like application. Application will ask for specifies a startup idea, market, transaction team, and other specs vital of search success. And the second level is that the assessment. So what the assessment means, promising teams from the pre-screening phase move on to the obsessed and investability, revenue potential, and overall strength of the market or servicing we are offering to them. The third factor is that the interview. So interview is that at this stage, the accelerator is very interested, but wants to know about the team, product, and evidence of traction. The interview process typically takes 20 to 30 minutes for it. The next is your evaluation. So evaluation provides the documents to prove their statements about revenue, legal standing, or any claims made about the company, whatever that you are claiming for that. Okay. And the last is your acceptance. So upon completion of the all final evaluation, the investment committee will meet to finalize where the funding will go during the 20 to 16-week program. Roughly, actually, it is 30 to 60% of the teams. Then made it assessment phase will receive funding. So we have seen in the diagram that first is the application phase, then the assessment, then the interview, then the evaluation, last is the final is your acceptance means. So only the 45 to 90% that is only accepted for it. So this is the process of actually how the application process of accelerators. Now next move towards that what is accelerator program. So going to see the diagrams, what are these easily mentioned that the top business accelerator programs are challenging actually. The top program accept fewer than 5% of the applicants. Okay. The application process take a lot of research and preparation. Companies usually receive a decision making quickly, with some programs deciding a few hours after the interview. Each accelerator will give its own process following the some steps. The first is the fill out the application questionnaire, sit for the rapid fire interview, and the last it gets accepted along the cohort for the startup. So actually they are beneficial because potential of for the growth, The ultimate goal of the accelerator program is to scale business. We have to scale the business, dedicated work time, expert training, and investment opportunity allow your company to thrive. The next is valuable feedback. What the feedback is giving? One-to-one meetings with program advisors, having growing startups, gaining investors, entering markets, that is networking opportunities. Companies work alongside with the startups in co-working spaces, workshops, to successful entrepreneurs through mentorship and accelerator alumni. Seed investments. What are the seed investment? We have talked that participants often receive funding for the program. They also pitch investors at the end of the program. Okay, and the last one is your prestige. An accelerator is backed for the honor in the eye of investor. Participation in a top program shows your team skills, drive, and training. So as we are seeing in the diagram also that we are analysis and positioning, then finding the growth and workshops, taking the technology development, how next the new development product, how it is developed, and exit matchmaking with the market, what we are seeing. Right. Okay. Next, we move towards it that features between incubators and accelerators. So there are many features and some common features. We are seeing that training, mentoring, business support, and selective. So there are some differences also basically. So accelerators are funded by existing companies, and whereas incubators are often independent, but have connection to venture capital firms and university. Accelerators are aimed at accelerating companies with scaling them. On the other hand, incubators focus primarily on stimulating innovation. Actually, they incubate disruptive ideas. What is to make things little more complicated. For accelerators, a clearly delighted time frame for a new few months is usually set up, and the incubators are long term. In many instances, even taking years also. At accelerators, mentoring by the legacy company, distinctive part of program, the established firm with often buy a small equity stake in the startup. Okay. And on the other hand, incubators focus on large numbers and are less selective over it. And what are the accelerators have much more structured program. They have the whole structured type of program with it. And then incubators, they try to create a kind of alignment between the startups. They don't have a proper structure for it. They create a time of alignment for it. And they just leave more focused. They focused on creating an environment for correlation. So we have seen that these are the basically difference, and what they are combining the work for that both incubators and accelerators, as we see in the common interaction part, we are seeing this in the centralizing, we are seeing the common interaction that gaining, training, mentoring, both are formed for the training, both are going for the mentoring, both are doing for the business support, and they are both are for the selective. So incubators, they have open-ended duration, typically fee-based, technical facilities, physical space, and rolling admission. For the accelerators, they are typically growth-based, as we have seen that. No? They are basically growth phase, whereas the incubator, they guide for the non-structure way. They have fixed duration, that we have previously seen that accelerators have particular this month for the seed side and that month for the long program. So they have a very fixed duration program, and they are basically cohort based. I previously mentioned that what's meaning by the cohort based also. Cohort based and seed funding. Seed funding I have previously got. Again, I am just repeating what is the seed funding. On the case of accelerators, we have seen that the seed funding, seed programs, what is seed funding are basically last 2 or 4 months. These last for only 2 to 4 months and focus on the less mature startups. So these for the seed funding, building up their business fundamental before going them the opportunity to pitch their ideas to investors. So these are the small programs for 2 to 4 months that we call the seed funding programs, and focus on the less mature. What means for the small startups, these accelerators program work. So between these sides, now we move towards the next, that is a quick glance that we have previously again told that duration, funding, selection process, startup stage, and education. So these actually differ from that. that it's ongoing to 3 to 6 months. They have investments, they have organizing, that have gone competitive, they're competitive, they're the early stage, that are preferably the same room concept, a hands-on workshop, and this is advisable, available possibility. Okay, so now we move the next most important topic, that is the entrepreneurship. So everyone knows that what an entrepreneurship at the fundamental level. So entrepreneurship is what basically, as we have mentioned, that is setting up a business and taking on the financial risk with the goal of making a profit. But the term can emphasize such more as that. So it is possible when you are a big business or sole entrepreneurship at the heart. So again, welcome for the session that we are interrupted in between. So we were on the topic that the entrepreneurship, sorry. So what is it is possible whether you are a big business or a sole entrepreneurship. At the heart of the entrepreneurship, the concept of innovation, that are developing something totally new that solves a problem. A business can change the way people live for the better. As a result, entrepreneurship sometimes focuses on bigger ideas than it does on money. Although profit is ultimately the chief motivator driving the lion's share of business actually. So there are many types of entrepreneurship that listed, that small business entrepreneurship. So what are the small business are those that who want to hassle free life. When you are maintaining a large company, you will need to focus on various of factors as you know. But when it comes to the small business that hire a minimum number of people and run a smooth business. So these are the small business entrepreneurship. Now we go to the scalable startup entrepreneurship. So what is the scalable startup entrepreneurship basically? So when a startup has an innovative idea to change the world, then become one of the scalable startup. They create each step of business plan to grow their business rapidly. They intend to start getting the most profit from a short period. So they want to get a very large amount of profit within a small period only. It's not easy actually to establish a scalable startup because it requires education, hard work, and experience with all that thing. If you are looking to see some examples of scalable startup, then we can go through like a Facebook, Instagram. These are the examples for the scalable startup entrepreneurship. Now that is a large company entrepreneurship. Large company, as we know that existing a large company want to offer more services, it comes under large company entrepreneurship. More professionals, you know how to manage a large company and get maximum growth. They play with the innovation and test how they perform. So you will need a big team to manage a large company for it, like Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. That is a large company entrepreneurship actually. Social entrepreneurship, the last is. So when an entrepreneur has a passion for servicing society and making it better for others, they choose a small entrepreneur. These entrepreneur mindset actually is not to generate maximum profit to the start of the social enterprises. These entrepreneurs creates non-profit companies for a social work. When you hear of social entrepreneurship, some famous names such as Michael Barth and Bill Latter will definitely come up. So these are basically the entrepreneurship. So what are the characteristics of the entrepreneurship? Ability to take risk, first of all. So the ability to take risk. So starting a venture involves obviously a considerable amount of low risk, innovation, highly innovative to generate new ideas, start up a company, earn profits of it, changing to launching a new product into the market and getting something but in a more efficient and economical way. That is innovation. Visionary and leadership quality. To be a successful entrepreneur should have a clear vision for the new venture. To turn the idea into reality, a lot of resources, employees are required actually. Open-minded. In a business, every circumstances can be an opportunity used for the benefit of the company. For example, Paytm recognized the gravity of domesticization, acknowledged need the online transaction would be more. Next is flexible also, should be flexible and change according to the situation. And the last is actually to know your product. You should know your product. What is the product offering? Also aware of the trend to the market, available in the market, meets the demand of the current market. What is the time to tweak in the middle? These are the okay. So what are the startup development stages? So there are basically the three people involved: people, product, and process. It is basically the working of three people in addition of innovation process from idea to value generating product and market proven business model. This is also needed a strong committed founding team and develop both of these together, business and running process and efficiently capture with the value created. So I've seen that ideating, conceptualizing, committing, validating, scaling and establishing. So these are the stages of developing a startup. While there are many great resources and self-education tools available for the market and business development, where most important ones are captured in the framework. Much less resources are focus on available changes of building their team actually. So this is the startup development stages. Next, we move to these are the four institutions we have previously talked for that. Next, we go through the incubators, group, and the evolution processing and these landscapes. So these are predominantly housed with the academic institutions such as IITs, universities, a part of industry bodies and organization ASCOM type of. The stepwise incubators of 15 times is large in last 2 decades can largely incubate in the growth of incubators, accelerators with academic institution. Actually, the institutionalism of incubation policies in India dates back in 1955 with the setting of NSIC, that is National Small Industries Corporation by the Ministry of Micro, Small and Enterprises. So these incubators, growth and innovation, two of the most recent incubator inventors that we know that Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission, that is the basically. So what is the classification of incubators? So the type 2.0 incubation centers are institution of higher learning and R&D organization having incubator facilities and established linkage with larger companies with bodies and clusters. These are actually divided into 4 groups that we are seeing that G1 Center. G1 Center offer deep support to startup including mentoring, capacity building, industry linkage for furthering investment, and also support G3 centers actually. They are actually 6 centers in G1 are located in academic institutions, namely IIM and Ahmedabad, IIT, IIT Hyderabad, IIM Calcutta, IIT Kanpur, and IIT Bombay. So the G2 centers, these facilities aspiring entrepreneurs and students to build high quality startups and also nurture and handhold G3 centers. These centers are spread out across private and small government academic institutions and university across India. So some of the examples are that KIT University Bhubaneswar, Vellore University, Institute of University, and IIC, that is from the Pune. These are for the G2 centers. And the group 3 centers, G3C will invite and evangelize innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems in unexplored regions. These will typically incubators that are recently established in academic institutes. Group 3 centers will initialize them. Okay, so these are basically for that. And I previously that 60% of the incubators are housed within the educational institutions that I previously mentioned for that. That is the same. Funding of the Indian startups, that is basically a startup obviously might require funding from one or fewer or many of the reports. It's important that an entrepreneur is clear about what they are raising funds. Founder should be detailed financially and business plan before that they approach investors. Okay. The next is few incubators in India. Where are the few incubators? That Angel Prime, that is in Bangalore, IN incubator, that is in Delhi, and Seed Farm, Seed Fund, that is situated in Mumbai. So these are the few incubators in India. Next, we go to the startup failure and why do startup failure? This is the main the topic for that. We start, how many startups are failed? and how it fails. So as we know that the whole thing basically goes to the startup. Starting a business actually and not a harder than a people actually think. Really, a business is on tune with its niche and flowed with minimum effort. So why actually business fail? For what matter how it eventually feels, the reason runs deep actually. Reason for failing it, if you poll former business owners, you will get a variety of reasons that example that money run out. We invest the money, but we have a shortage of money or capital. Especially in early days, business are generative of profits. Wrong market. The next is wrong market. That too many people try to start a business targeting everyone in the demographic. They does not work out well. They try to target everyone in their town. Again, too broad. When you're targeting very broad amount of people, so if we are not in the space to have to make happy or make things was available for everyone. Lack of research. You go through a startup, you want to know, have to know actually what your customer wants, right? For a good startup, too many would be entrepreneurs go into the market thinking that they're a great service, this will be a very good product, and but they fail to realize that nobody actually want that service or product. By doing your homework and researching your market, you will know exactly how to meet your potential customer needs. This is very important for that. Bad partnership. This is also the main factor that when you start a business, a partner is needed. One of you is an expert in idea and the other is not expert in anyone. Your idea for the company will conflict without a clear resolution. It starts internal strike. You work harder and your partner less. Your partner thinks they are working harder, but then you ultimately the business dissolves because of the partnership didn't work. By having a clear business plan that lays out the duty of each partnership can avoid more conflicts before they can even arise. So not an expert. This is also the main factor that too many entrepreneurs start their business because they need a job. They have a vague idea of what they are doing. They think that because they are better than their peers, they should make a living doing it. The sad truth, business skills are real and important, though entrepreneurs are designed to struggle for it. So there are the many factors for these are the factors for how the startup fails sometimes. How to avoid it actually. The things can be avoided, we can't prevent it actually. The most business are dedicated for the failure, but that key points do not be coming up to 20% that the fail right off the bat. So set goals first of all, know exactly where you need to be and where you want to be. This is the prime factor. Without a goal, you are just wandering aimlessly. So this should be keep in mind. Research. This is the major factor. Know everything about the market. Know what your customer want. Know what they will pay. They will pay rupees 9 or they will rupees 10, or to say they can $9 or $10, whatever in the currency knows. So first you know that what they want to pay, what they will pay. Know their incomes, their desires, what makes them tick. The more you know, the more you can pitch to them. So the research is very important factor for it. Love your work. If you don't love what you do, it will show you will be not working for it. You must be passionate about your business or you're just doing it. So this is also done. And the last, not the least, is don't quit. No matter how the great of the business you have, how going to have it downtimes, there will be periods when people think are dragging along and your question of decision, but you don't have to quit it. Put extra time, extra hours, press harder, and just make it work. So there we go through the topic. Thank you everyone for it. Thank you.